Through my time doing YouTube, doing subwoofer reviews, and reading all my comment sections, I realized that there's a mistake that people are making when it comes to choosing your subwoofers. Which one do you buy? What subwoofer is better than the other? A lot of people are making the mistake and getting caught on power and letting power being the sole reason why they choose a subwoofer over another. That's a huge mistake. And so I'm going to show you right now on the computer how I choose my subwoofers and why power rating doesn't really matter. So right now I'm on Monoprice Monolith website here, and I'm just gonna act like I'm looking at a Monoprice Monolith subwoofer. So I'm gonna go down to audio and video. Let's find subwoofers here. And they have a number of subwoofers here, which is why I wanted to choose Monoprice, because this kind of shows how I go through and decide what subwoofer is better than the other. So if I'm looking through subwoofers, of course, the number one thing that matters is price. So I'm looking through here, 179, 570, 173. We got a $2,500 sub, $1,800 sub. So there's a lot of subs that Monoprice has. So the first thing that matters the most is, can I afford it or not? That's the simple thing. But it goes deeper than that too. What are you getting for the money? So I'm gonna click on this $570 sub. This is the M12V2. So this is a 12-inch THX certified ported subwoofer that actually has a lot of good reviews here, priced at $570. So the first thing that I do after I see the price of a subwoofer, I go straight down and try to find the specs. That's the first thing I look at, is what is this subwoofer all about? Of course, I know it's already a 12-inch. I look at the cone material because different cone materials have different characters of sound. And then I look at the voice coil. I'm a car audio guy, so the size of voice coil usually indicates how much power that it can handle. So I look at the voice coil, you don't have to. But the next thing that I look at is X-Max. And X-Max is also known as excursion, how far the cone can travel in one direction. Why that matters is because usually X-Max usually equates to lower bass. The more it moves, the more air it can move. So we like a lot of X-Max, and it looks cool, of course. I look at X-Max, of course, and then I look at my finishes. Does it come in black ash, or does it come in only gloss finish? Maybe I want a white subwoofer. Maybe I want a walnut subwoofer. So colors matters too. So after I've looked at price, after I've looked at voice coil and X-Max, and maybe even the finishes, I go straight to the frequency response. In this case, TXX EQ says it goes to 20 to 200 hertz here. And that's sealed. Vented is 17 to 200 hertz, but overall I'm getting about 17 hertz in room response, maybe a little bit better than that. And that's what matters to me almost the most, more than anything, is what is the driver made out of, what size is the subwoofer, what finishes does it come in, and then how low can it play? Because a subwoofer for me has to get well under 20 hertz for me to even consider it. I don't think I'll even buy a sub that doesn't get under 15 hertz, let alone 20. So I look at frequency response because this matters. How low can my sub play and how high can it play? Because I may need it to blend with my speakers that may not be able to play very low, or whatever the case may be. Now, I always look at distortion, harmonic distortion, THD. I always look at distortion because those ratings matter. When things get loud, does it stay composed? Those things matter to me. And then the last thing that I look at now in my stage of my career is if it has XLR inputs and outputs, because I like balanced cables. XLRs are balanced, RCAs are not. So I like to go with the XLR options here. And then that's all that I care about. Then I'm on to the next sub. Yes, power does matter. This has a Class D 500 watt RMS subwoofer, but that doesn't mean that it can't play loud. So let's go back. Let's say I'm comparing this subwoofer for 570, but I'm also considering their 13-inch model. Why is it $1,200 more? So now I'm going to click on this. Obviously, the biggest thing you can tell right off the bat is that it's a bigger driver. It's a bigger subwoofer with one more port. So now I can tune the port. Now I can go in sealed mode, and it's a bigger driver, so it's going to move more air. That may matter to me, right? Obviously, it has more power, but that doesn't mean that it's 12 times louder than the other one, or in this case, 500 watts to 2,000 watts. It's not 4 times louder, right? Not necessarily. It's probably only about 6 dBs louder or so than the other subwoofer. So the watts does not matter to me whatsoever. Again, I'm looking at the size of the driver. I'm looking at the material of the cone. I'm looking at its X max. We went from 18 millimeters to 28 millimeters. That means we can move more air. Not only is it a bigger cone, but it can move more air. Still comes in black ash here. And check this out. It only gets down 1 more hertz lower than the $579 subwoofer here, right? And then it has a very similar harmonic distortion, a little bit different there. Same everything else. So even though this subwoofer is $1,200 more, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I'm not really getting much of a different frequency response here. It's about the same as the other subwoofer. It's a similar material as the other subwoofer. It's only an inch bigger in cone size than the other subwoofer. So do I need to spend another $1,200 for this? What do I get for it? Do I get an app maybe? Do I get some DSP control? So there's a lot of other things that I look at. Power is the last thing that's on my mind. Yes, it does matter because sometimes you need to fill a big room and you need the power to do that. It's not necessarily equated to volume as much as it is control or the ability to, I'll say it like this. The reason why power doesn't matter the way that you think it does is because some speakers are simply less efficient than others. So it takes more power to produce the same amount of volume as another speaker. And that goes for subwoofers or loudspeakers. It does not matter. So if I have a loudspeaker, let's say I have a Klipsch bookshelf speaker here that are known for really good sensitivity ratings, meaning they're really efficient. Let's say this bookshelf speaker can reach 120 dBs on its own, no problem. Great. Let's say I have a much bigger speaker now with more drivers in there that can also reach 120 dBs like the smaller speaker, but this smaller speaker is rated at 75 watts and my bigger speaker is rated at 300 watts. They both can play the same volume, but now we have more drivers in my bigger speaker, meaning we need more power to power all those speakers, even though we're only getting the same volume level overall. We have more drivers to drive, and maybe those drivers are less efficient than this one little Klipsch speaker over here. So sometimes when you're wrapping your mind around power, you may end up choosing the wrong subwoofer for you because you think the more power, the better for you. And a lot of times that's not the case. My subwoofer, right now I'm reviewing the Stark Sound SW15 that's rated at 500 watts. 500 watts of 450 RMS. And then all my other subs are about 2,000 to 3,000 watts. But the Stark Audio gets just as loud, just about as loud as my other subwoofers, even though my other subwoofers are about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, even 6 times the power. And that's because they're less efficient than the Stark Audio or Stark Sound. They have 2 drivers instead of just 1. So there's a lot of reasons why you need more power, and usually it's not for volume. So when you're looking for subwoofers, I'll end all this to say, if you're looking for subwoofers, make sure you take other things into account because power is one of the last things to consider. There's more important things like overall driver size, box size, how many ports does it have, or does it have any ports at all? What is the cone material? What enclosure made out of? How much X max does that driver have? And if all those things check out for you, then you can start to care about the power rating. Of course, it matters if you don't have the power on tap. Maybe you have a 3,000 watt subwoofer, but you only have a 15 amp circuit and you can't power it. Now it matters, but don't let that stop you on picking a subwoofer because one has less power than the other. There's so much more that's important. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe if you are not already. Oh, and by the way, since you're here, YouTube thinks that you're gonna like this video. Click on that one. We'll see you in the next video. Keep this guy out. Peace.